And we'll get started. Thank you everyone for joining us for our first PhD information session. My name is Joseph. I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate Student Affairs and Admissions, and I'm happy that you all are able to join us this evening for our first PhD info session. And it will be Professor Sadarangani and Professor Wu that will go ahead and continue with the topic of mentorship within our PhD program here at NYU Myers. And then I'll just go ahead and give a brief overview of the application process at the end of the presentation as well. And there'll be plenty of time for Q&A for both of us. So please go ahead and kick it off, Professor Sadarangani and Professor Bu.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. So at the beginning that we can kind of introduce ourselves. My name is Bei Wu. I'm a Dean's Professor in Global Health and also Vice Dean for Research at the college.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tina Sadarangani. I'm an assistant professor here at the college. So I've also was a graduate of the PhD program, and I did my postdoctoral fellowship here. So I've been at NYU for quite some time, and I'm excited with Dr. Wu to talk a little bit about not just how we give mentorship to our PhD students, but also about the process of receiving mentorship as a PhD student. So I hope that can be helpful. And I think we'd also love to hear a little bit about each of you, if possible.
I can start. My name is Elena Weldon. I'm an acute care nurse practitioner by trade, but I'm the director of research at NYU for the Transplant Institute and the Department of Surgery. I've been in research in various aspects for over 20 years and have been an acute care nurse practitioner for 10. I've been at NYU for 6. Our group came from Johns Hopkins to really expand research and expand the transplant program. And I recently expanded, taking over the Department of Surgery research over the last year as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing all that you have to say tonight and very excited to submit my application. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Sasha, do you want to go ahead?
Good evening, everyone. I'm just having some technical difficulties with my earpiece. My name is Sasha Winslow. If you hear the background noise, I do apologize in advance. I've been a nurse for 11 years. I am a certified maternal newborn registered nurse, and I currently work high-risk OB in the Bronx. I'm also a family nurse practitioner, and I have worked at a FQHC primarily in New York City. And currently my interest is learning more about the mentorship here at NYU's PhD program, as I'm interested in searching more regards to mental health and workforce safety.
Great. So-mi?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Nice to meet you. I am a graduate student in Yonsei University in South Korea, and I'm interested in research regarding patient safety and quality of care. I'm really excited to start my PhD journey in NYU. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. So-mi, now you're currently in Seoul?
Yes, I am in Seoul right now.
Great. My former postdoc actually currently is a faculty at Yonsei University, Kong-hee Lee.
Oh, yes, I know her.
Speak of mentorship, yes. Wonderful. So next that we prepared a few slides that we would like to kind of go through, just briefly introduce our program. Next, please, Tina. Yeah, so overall, these sessions provide a kind of program background information, but I'm sure that we have a few other sessions that are coming up that our faculty may introduce our program as well. But at the beginning, we want to kind of quickly go through this program. But really, we would like to kind of allocate some time available for question and answers. So please feel free to ask us questions related to this program and also mentorship in particular. and we'll be happy to provide feedback in this session. So overall program that our program, we're very proud to say that this is the first nursing PhD program. NYU has the first nursing PhD program in the world, and it was established in 1935. This is really a great kind of a record to have. And that we have also hold many kind of first in that sense. A first American PhD nurse, Esther Osborne, and also that the nurse of the female president of Ivy League University, the first female dean at the college of college at the university, and the chief nursing officer with a PhD. So we hold many kind of first on record. Next, please. So we have overall that between the year 2015 to 2021, we have graduate overall like 34 in total. That is a pretty kind of diverse student bodies that include 30% that from racial ethnic minority background. We have 10% of the international students and the 10% as men. So we have most of our doctoral students complete postdoc training, and 60% working in faculty positions. So it seems like once you get PhD, that you are, once you actually enter in PhD, you start to kind of consider this is that you're choosing academic kind of career in the future. So overall, this is also certainly that some statistics back up this in the way that 60% of our graduates are working in as a faculty. And also like 40% working in research leadership positions in healthcare systems, also in the industry. So on average that we know that PhD program kind of can last between 3 years to 5 years is the most common. That I know that a few of my students have completed the PhD program in 3 years from another university. The average time to graduate here at the NYU is 4.5 years. So many of our PhD students receive external grant funding, although the scope of funding that kind of varies from small, a few $1,000s to probably tens of $1,000s. So that's to support their dissertation research. This is something that our research office is very interested in working with our PhD program to support this and support our PhD students to seek external funding to support their dissertation research. So our graduates currently has an average of 5 publications at the time that they graduate. Now, granted, I clearly see that the bar is raising, that more and more graduates with a PhD have more publications. So this is certainly it is a kind of a competition gets higher and higher. That's the kind of reality that we're facing. Next slide, please. So our PhD program that I'm sure that you probably have already looked at our website, that we have 4 pillars. That means a kind of 4 focus areas. Our college is very strong in adults and aging research, which Dr. Sangani and I are both in this area as a study kind of aging related issues, aging and health related research projects. We also have this bio-behavior research focus, as well as health services research. I heard somebody was who was talking about interested in kind of workforce, right? So that's that is certainly a strength of a few faculty have an interest in that as well. And the youth and the family, that we have faculty in this area as well. Next, please. So again, this is for our PhD programs. I believe that is certainly related. The topic of this session is that our faculty are very strong in these areas. Certainly, we would like to have our PhD students, their research interest in alignment with our faculty's interest. So here, that again, that we are strong in adult and aging, that I can kind of proudly say that all our tenured or tenure track faculty currently have NIH funding or other externally funded projects that with a focus on Alzheimer's disease and dementia research and dementia caregiving, or kind of to provide the care for persons with dementia. Another area is palliative care. So Alzheimer's, dementia care and the palliative care are two main focus for the adult and aging cluster in the college. Then health services research, we have faculty that are interested in maternal child health. And we have T42 is funded by NIOSH, National Institute of Occupational, National Occupational Health, Environment and Health. So that's T42. We have funding to fund the PhD students in study occupational environment health. We have community-based services research that particularly strong in home health care. This is area home health and home care services research. Also immigrant health, that we have quite a few faculty, the increasing kind of interest in immigrant health in the college, including Dr. Sangani, Dr. Allison Squire, Chen Jianma, and myself. We all are quite interested in immigrant health overall. Next slide, please. So yes, here's just a kind of a snapshot of some of our faculty here, called program faculty on this picture. So you can kind of go into, I would strongly encourage you to go to our website and look at what are our faculty's research interest, currently funded projects, and the current kind of and the publications, and to see who you would like to kind of identify. I think it will be helpful to identify two or more faculties that you could potentially work with, and how your research interest in alignment with our faculty's interest. Next, please. So here a few of our clinical faculty, that our clinical faculty being at NYU, which is a heavily kind of research intensive university, we also encourage our clinical faculties to engage in kind of scholarship kind of activities. So that's why you see many of our research clinical faculty are also kind of actively engaged in scholarship activities, writing kind of have publications in different areas. Next. So I would like to turn ask Dr. Sangani to take this over to introduce the second set of our presentation.
Yes, absolutely. And if anything is not clear, feel free to chime in at any point with questions here. So that was a really great overview in general of the program and the faculty. The next couple of slides are a little bit more about the program offerings and sort of how it works, you know, what courses you take and when, the other expectations and requirements that need to be satisfied for graduation. And then we'll culminate by talking a little bit about mentorship. So this just should give you a little sense of what you do. The first 2 years of the program are focused on coursework. And really year one is very intensive, and this is the full-time curriculum with respect to getting a strong foundation in different research methods, as well as the process of appraising science and understanding sort of the rigor with which different studies have been conducted. So really we start with biostatistics 1 and 2, which is, I would be lying if I said it was a PhD student favorite, but it is one of the more important classes. And increasingly, we work with faculty both within our college and at the Global Public Health to make that happen and to make it a really meaningful experience. I will say, just so all of you know, but my heart is always in qualitative methods, but I did a full statistical PhD and I was very well supported. That was something I think my 10-year-old self would have never thought was possible. So we really do have robust supportive faculty to help that happen. You also will take design courses, as I said, focus on other designs, study designs. This includes qualitative and mixed methods research. You'll take the knowledge synthesis and knowledge appraisal course where you'll understand, and this will really culminate in a project of appraising different literature in your area of interest. You'll get coursework in philosophical foundations, as well as grant writing, which is really important. You know, if you are someone who's interested in pursuing a career, as Dr. Wu knows, I'm learning well, grant writing is a core skill as you progress in this career. But we also want to stress that there are multiple options for individuals. And as we showed before, our graduates do different kinds of work. But again, this methodology, all this work in year one is really foundational to your understanding of the research process. We have PhD forum where we discuss different ideas, methodologies. We have your dissertation seminar. So now we're in year 2, and this is where we really start to shift into this process of thinking about what is that question you're going to write for your dissertation. You're supported in 2 small group PhD forums, which do meet in person. You get coursework in health equity, which is foundational. You know, Dr. Wu talked about all the priority areas that we all as faculty focus on, whether it's immigrant health, health services. Almost all of what we do is rooted in health equity for all of our faculty members. So it's important that all of you get that sort of training, as well as the opportunity in that second year to take electives anywhere within NYU that align with your research interests. So the College of Social Work, the School of Education, the School of Medicine, Global Public Health, even the Tandon School of Engineering, depending on what you're wanting to do, have a multitude of offerings. That is really one of the best reasons, I think, personally, to choose a school like NYU, is because of the sheer number of students we have and faculty and the size of the university. The program and course offerings are simply innumerable. So there are different paths that you can take. You know, I, first instance, was a student who came in with a master's degree, and I hear that many of you are master's prepared. There is the option to do a BSN to PhD program in which the coursework is a little bit spread out a touch differently than what I described. Again, the coursework is all essentially the same. But there are going to be a few more electives. We do also have to see in our BSN candidates a real strong demonstrated track record of previous research experience and interest, work experience of at least 3 years. So this isn't something where we recommend coming straight out of a BSN program, as well as professional engagement. And the reason that we say that is because that clinical exposure and research experience is really foundational to you having a strong idea of what it is you want to pursue and research while you're in this program. Having a strong idea of what you're passionate and excited to explore is critical to, I hate to say it, but getting out of here in a timely fashion, right? So you really want to focus, have a content area that excites you so that you can build an exciting mentorship team, which we'll talk about. And that's with the BSN to PhD candidates, the work experience and professional engagement very much adds to that. One of the biggest, I would say, areas of importance, and also which is completely normal concern for PhD students, is the candidacy exam. And that is really given to students in the first year who are on the regular full-time track. And completion of the candidacy exam successful completion of the candidacy exam is required for progression to year 2. So what do we mean by a candidacy exam? Well, it's actually more of a paper. And really what you're doing is you're going to do an integrative review and synthesize and so bring together all the topic on an area that's related to your dissertation research interests. And so I was the PhD student that I mentor, for example, I was explaining today a little bit about the difference between the candidacy exam and the dissertation question. The candidacy exam is what we call a real state of the science. So if I was interested, as I was in my dissertation, in cardiovascular disease in older immigrants, and I was particularly interested in those who are uninsured in their outcomes, my integrative review was really looking at what the existing literature out there and the different studies that had been done that talk about cardiovascular disease in uninsured immigrant populations, and what we could learn specifically about older immigrants. Once I was able to synthesize and review all of that literature and show the faculty that I could interpret that evidence, it also helped me identify gaps in the literature that then I was going to study as part of my own dissertation and my own unique contribution to the scientific literature. So the process of this paper is that after the spring semester comes to a close, you have 1 month to complete this assignment. You will have preparation in your various coursework on how to complete this type of paper. Your paper is reviewed by a committee of 3 faculty members who have relevant expertise to your project. And then based on providing you with initial passing score or essentially based on an initial passing score based on that paper, you then present the committee with an oral examination. So essentially an oral presentation about what you have learned and taken away from this. The candidacy exam is really an important initial publication for many of our students, and 90% of our students do publish their candidacy exams in a peer-reviewed journal after completion. So one of the other key things that you'll be asked to do, and this is really critical to gaining experience as a researcher, is research training via your research residency. So what is a research residency? Research residency is essentially any series of activities that you will be doing with faculty here at NYU and within perhaps the different schools within the College of Nursing, to gain experience in various aspects of designing and conducting research. So in the case of my own PhD student, I really encourage them to get experience in qualitative methods, in quantitative methods, in mixed methods, in conducting interviews and analyzing survey data. It may not necessarily be what you see yourself doing for the rest of your life, but it's important to get a broad array of experiences to understand what different research processes look like and how research is conducted. This also helps to really expand your professional network. So maybe you work with somebody and their topic is really exciting to you and you carve out a niche within their own topic. This experience also really provides you with experience working in teams. So you may be a graduate research assistant working with a postdoctoral fellow, as well as the leading faculty member. This is all very valuable experience because it really mirrors what a research career looks like. And so you will get a lot of different exposure to different faculty, to different topic areas, to different methodologies. All activities have to be completed before the dissertation proposal defense. So that's different than the candidacy proposal that I talked about, or the end of year 4. So it's really whichever comes first. If you're taking 4 years to complete your dissertation proposal defense, which hopefully you won't, and no matter what, by year 4, that really needs to be done. And again, there's some variation here depending on whether you're a full-time student or a part-time student or BSN to PhD, et cetera. But in general, foundations of the research residency are critical. As far as the funding that's provided at NYU, here at NYU, and this is significantly improved since I was a student here and shows the real dedication to this program by the Office of Provost, is that we provide our students with a full tuition scholarship. You get a living stipend of $30,000 a year. It's about our part about a $269,000 investment per candidate, and you do receive health insurance for the entirety of your enrollment period. After year 4, typically, the vast majority, about 80% of our students get some type of internal or external grant funding to support their dissertation completion. And we'll talk in a second, many of our students are also working at certain points in this after completing their coursework. Only the only tuition charge after year 4 is your dissertation advisement, which is approximately $2,000 a semester. So a little bit about training focused funding. As we said, there are a number of funding opportunities both inside and outside the college. We have an occupational health T42 program. So if anyone's interested in occupational health, this type of program could provide funding for year 1 of the PhD program up to 4 years. Topics include nurse burnout, psychological safety, PPE, and general topics focused on workplace health and wellness. We also have a behavioral health and substance use T32 program. So these numbers, the T42, the T32, they're kind of different mechanisms that are within the National Institutes of Health. So if you don't know what those mean, that's okay. Eventually you will. And so for that program, funding is available for after year 3. This is great for individuals who are interested in prescribing patterns and outcomes, substance use disorders. We have a great program for that as well that could support research there. So here we get into really what the point of today's conversation is, and what I think is really foundational to the PhD program, which is mentors and mentorship. And so Dr. Wu, did you want to talk about this, or would you like me to continue?
Yeah, so you can continue, then I can kind of, yes.
Great.
Provide input afterwards.
Perfect. So with regard to mentorship, really mentor match is key, and it's foundational for PhD study. And that's whether you go to NYU, whether you go to UPenn, wherever you go, really a lot of it must be driven by the mentor and the content match. And the reason for that is they have a knowledge and interest in your content area. They can help you get the requisite experience, knowledge, point you in the direction of the information that you will need to successfully complete a relevant and scientifically sound project. And again, one thing we're going to talk about is that there's no single mentor who can be perfect for you in all these 3 different areas. But across mentors, and you're going to have multiple mentors when you're in the program, they should be able to either advise you on the content, so your specific research area. For example, I have a student who I advise on older immigrant health, which is a real area of mine and the population that I serve. There are other mentors who are really great at mixed methods research, qualitative methods, health services research. So it really depends on what you want to do, but having at least one mentor, if not more, whose interests and areas of expertise align in those 3 bullets is critical to a successful program. The faculty within the College of Nursing who are currently accepting PhD students are listed on our website under the directory, along with the profiles of their current students. So the formal mentoring structure is that in years 1 and 2, you're matched with an advisor. And this person's job really is to guide you through the program, to make sure that you're progressing properly, you're taking your requisite courses, you're finding the electives you need, you're getting access to the opportunities you need to be successful and check off all those boxes of the requisite coursework to get you through the dissertation phase. Your advisor may very well become your dissertation chair, but they could also not. The idea is not to match you with someone who's imperfect and with whom, we don't want somebody who's not a great fit. That's sort of not acceptable. We want it to be a great fit. So by year 3, that advisor, whether it's a person you were working with before or someone that you newly select and find, will become what we call your safe space person. That's what the advisor is there for, to continue making sure that you are meeting your needs, that you're progressing properly within the program, that you have a space to talk about frustrations or any roadblocks and to support you through them. Your dissertation chair is somebody who is the person that's helping to guide your study design. That's really the person who's helping you with the science, with the research, thinking about how are you going to design this? How are you analyzing this? If you're doing an intervention, how are you going to implement it? Where are you going to do it? That really is the responsibility of the dissertation chair. So I think I alluded to this, but the common questions we always get is, can I change advisors? Absolutely. Does the match have to be perfect? No. In fact, I had a dissertation chair who was wonderful, who didn't, was not focused on the area of older immigrants, but had a lot of background in health services research and policy work, which was very well aligned with what I wanted to do. It doesn't have to be a perfect match, but it should be a good match, a great match, a strong match. And that's something we really want to make happen. And that's why Dr. Wu was saying, it's really important to take a look at the website and identify at least 2 people who you think would be could be good fits to work with. Did you want to add anything, Dr. Wu, here?
Oh, so is this the last slide or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's great. Thank you. So for I can certainly provide a kind of more shared some of my experience and the philosophy of kind of mentoring here. In our program that, and in previous, I have been in quite a few different kind of institutions that from kind of, my previous one is at Duke University. So between Duke and the NYU, we actually trained many wonderful PhD students. So overall, that my experience is just think about for you to think about is again identify some kind of mentors that one is potentially that's strong in content and can be also kind of strong or maybe strong in methods that kind of combined these kind of ways is particularly helpful, because in PhD program, I think that we are learning kind of research methods is very, very important in a way that think about if you want to become a kind of mixed method expert or qualitative researcher versus quantitative researcher, because this in the content area, so you have mentors to kind of work with you on content area. If you have a strong mentor in methods, this will be very, very helpful. So we do have a lot of faculty have strong kind of methods expertise as well, not only in terms of content area. So for example, that even like when Dr. Sangani was saying that some that not a perfect match for faculty and students, but also think about methods, right? If faculty, so that's why I think sometimes co-mentoring makes a lot of sense to think about content area as a methods kind of area that can be very helpful. In our program that many of us, of course, that mentoring style can be different, because some people are more kind of hands-on working with students, some are kind of less so. But overall, I think our program is that really all our faculty are kind of spend a lot of time mentoring students. So this is this is very strong, and it's not every institution maybe have this kind of culture, and some may not, but that overall, I think that our program is very strong in mentoring, and the faculty are willing to spend the time and effort to work with students, and that help develop your career. And it's not that it's not about kind of helicopter kind of hovering kind of a style. It is more about how we can do to help you to be successful. It's not like you are working under kind of my wing, that it's like a work on like my research project. It's not that this is not the case. It is to help you to develop your own research projects and develop your kind of strong dissertation, produce a strong dissertation. This is very important when you kind of trying to talk to faculty and get a sense of what their kind of priority. Sometimes that actually, to be honest with you, sometimes some faculty can be very, very strong in research, but they may not have the time to work with you. That can be a potential issue to think about. Okay, so it really have to be some faculty are very strong in their own research, but are willing to work with you and lend their expertise to help you. So this is something I feel that many our faculties are very good at this and truly care about our students. So this is something when you select a program, this is something you need to look into. How our kind of faculty's willingness and support to our students. Because mentoring is such an important area that the kind of the activity for a program to be successful and for our students to be successful. Without strong mentoring, again, that we're talking about become a very highly competitive environment in terms of job market, that if you just kind of based on your own effort, that probably will not be enough, that our faculty support is very important. Okay, so this is just overall that kind of my sense of this mentoring, but we're open for questions that, and we can we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. I know, Sasha, you wrote a question in the chat. Would you like to say it out loud, or if you are able to?
Oh, so this is a question about certification? Is Sasha's question about? No, so so you're certainly you will have training in, for example, biostats, the mixed methods, so that for you to kind of complete your research residency, consider this is also kind of a training opportunity. You're learning things by doing things. That it's not you need to pass get training in city training. This is a kind of a certificate for conducting research, not as a kind of a particular kind of a certificate. You're in the program that you work with faculty to complete your residency. That's all.
Are there other questions? Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. It helped clear up a lot of kind of the questions you have when you are applying to the program and all. And I was just wondering if you could just share some information on formal mentorship versus informal mentorship. I'm interested in health disparities research and barriers to access and end-stage renal disease. And you know, I just wonder, barriers is so broad, and there are certainly experts in different areas of those barriers. And so I just wonder how that looks when students may come into a program and there are so many different avenues they can take. So how does mentorship work in that regard?
If you don't mind, I'll take that, Dr. Wu. I think one of the, and I can speak both as a PhD student and as a faculty member, there are so many faculty whose goal, you know, what we see is all of us see just the future leaders of this profession, really bright, motivated, talented people who want to make positive change in the work that we do for patients. And I think when you find an area, you will have so much exposure. One of the things we didn't talk about is how much through Dr. Wu's office, the research office, how many presentations are put up. We have people coming from outside NYU. We have people from within NYU. We have our P20 Center. People are constantly presenting on their work, on their research. You will have so much exposure to the different types of things that people are doing that you will then be able to say, hey, you know what, that's really exciting to me, or that would really help me with X. And our faculty tend to be so approachable because we're just so excited to support the important work that you want to do, as well as your passion and your creativity and your commitment to this work. So one of the things I think is really great about the program is that you do get to exercise, particularly as you finish your coursework, a lot of leadership in terms of choosing the people who you think are going to be best suited to support you on your project. And I think it's important to think about, as we said, there's methods mentors, content mentors. There's also professional mentors, people who may have nothing to do with what I do, but who have given me really great sound advice, whether it is professional advice on how to have children and do this job, or whether it is advice on what the best grant opportunity for me is, or how to be strategic. I think you will, because we have so many opportunities for presentations, exposures, you will have your research residency in which you get to work with these individuals, and those relationships will be built through that. If you are motivated and self-directed and willing to conduct that outreach to the faculty, I think you'll quickly be able to identify who your mentor should be and what type of role they can play in your work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. Mentoring is just including both formal and informal, right? So you can be assigned to one advisor, but you can certainly consult with as a faculty for different kind of questions that you have. And also in terms of professional and leadership mentoring, right? Professional leadership, content, methods. So there's all different kind of areas that we're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for providing the valuable information. And is it encouraged for us to get in touch with professors prior to the admission process?
Yes, it would be helpful to contact the faculty that you think that you may want to work with or share some kind of common interest, and to see that what this faculty's kind of feedback towards your interest. This is always kind of helpful to do that, and also is a way to get more familiar with NYU, with the college as well.
I would just add to that, though, when in doing that outreach, be sure to really personalize it and make it specific, highlight maybe whether it's publications or projects or something that this individual faculty member is doing that particularly excites you. We tend to get a lot of these emails and requests. Many of them tend to be like generic, copied and pasted. So oftentimes if it's a really personalized request, that goes a long way in terms of identifying whether it can be a really good match for you.
That's true. This is a great point, because you know what? Every day, literally, that we receive many emails. So if we can quickly kind of skim through emails. If it's a generic kind of email, we potentially can ignore the email. But if you have a personalized email message, that will be helpful. But also, I would like to say is sometimes when you reach out to faculty and you don't get response from them, that you're just wondering, oh, this faculty is not interested in working with me or talking with me. But sometimes it can be some faculty buried in all these emails and have some deadlines. These kind of emails can be overlooked. Now I feel guilty. I keep talking to all the people that I need to talk to and say, if that's the case, send a second message. So as a follow-up, say, hey, I sent you a message earlier that have you received this? This is kind of a repeat and a reminder. So sometimes don't take it personally when the people don't respond to you. Sometimes it can be very many reasons. So.
Thank you.
Sasha, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so my question was, I got the opportunity to speak with Dr. Linden and Dr. Dickinson in STEMFOL because my research I was passionate about two topics, and I reached out to both faculty members, one because of the topics and also the methods that they use in their research, which was for me mixed methods and qualitative. And my question is, when it comes to writing the essay, how to introduce those the three individuals, even though I've selected a topic that I am passionate about that I want to focus on, even though they are two that are split between the two faculty.
So I think that goes back to our previous point of identifying I think it's actually it's a good problem to be identifying multiple people in your essay that can support different facets of your work. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that or that it poses any challenge. In fact, I think it's a strength of the application to say, I have a real passion in the specific content area of maternal child health outcomes. I'm really interested in conducting mixed methods research, among women in the Bronx that I work with and doing interviews and understanding outcomes. And that could be supported by Dr. Dixon's rich knowledge of mixed methods. So again, we actually expect, and I think that's an expectation of the process, that there isn't just solely one person, but that you're going to be able to successfully build a mentorship team. That's part of being a PhD student and part of developing a program of research going forward. There is I think one thing to just point out is that in a PhD, there's probably more independence than you've ever had in any academic program, especially as you progress into year 3. And that's very true also for a career in research if you end up pursuing that, where you have to be extremely self-directed. As Dr. Wu said, nobody's going to be on your shoulder telling you today you have to do this and tomorrow you have to do that. It's like you have to be very driven and self-directed and create your own plan and create a vision for yourself. We will all support you with that. But the more resources you can identify to make that happen, the more we all have to work with, which is great.
Thank you so much, because that was something when I was conducting and writing my essay, I was like, oh my God, how do I make this alignment with my two passions, but knowing I have to pick one? And I found the two people that of the three faculty that I felt really aligned with what I wanted to address.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can, if you think it's 3, then you just right. So include the 3 faculties. Yes. Right. Good. That's wonderful. I'm glad you already start preparing your personal statement. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I will just add that, in my own PhD program, I didn't have at the very start of it a perfect mentoring experience. And I had chosen a mentor that was aligned methodologically with what I wanted to do. My first degree was in anthropology, so I really wanted to work with somebody who was an anthropologist. And it ended up not being the right, even though the content expertise was there and there was a lot of understanding about, there was also a lot of other things I wanted to do. And maybe it was harder for that individual to see the broader vision and scope of what I was trying to do. And so I had the support of a advisor, PhD program leadership. And I simply said, and it was hard because I thought it had to be perfect. And unfortunately, my mother-in-law had done a PhD 100 years ago and said, if it's not working, why don't you just try to find someone new? And I was like, oh, that's what an obvious option. And it ended up being, it was actually then that our now outgoing dean, but our dean, Eileen Sullivan Marks, had joined, and she agreed to be one of my key mentors despite all her work and responsibilities. And then I had another mentor who was more focused in cardiovascular disease, which is what I was looking at the time. But I learned a tremendous amount about policy and leadership and professional development from our dean, who's done so much for my program of research, as well as more content and research methods from the vice dean. So again, it's like a marriage, it's not, we figure it out, we make it work, there's options. But the idea idea is not for you to be unsuccessful or to be unhappy or for you to be foisted on this person. We want this to be a really collaborative relationship, and you have a lot of independence over time in designing what your program and team look like.
Thank you so much.
On the heels of that, is it common for the admissions or selection committee to say, oh, if Sasha has 3 people that she thinks are fantastic, but you think, oh, there's a 4th person or someone else that would be really perfect that she hasn't or I haven't or anyone hasn't identified? Is it common for you all to say, oh, well, let's add this person as a mentor instead of someone else? Or, is it very important for us to get it right, with who we select and that's it?
No, you don't. Sometimes that the program will potentially make a kind of a recommendation to think about, because as a student or candidate has not been in this program, that it's hard to know the complete picture of what's going on with faculty. So that's why that the program can potentially make some recommendation, say instead of that so and so, maybe other faculty can kind of start working with you. Again, this is it is not kind of a done deal, right? So you basically just trying to think about establishing this kind of working relationship and test out to see whether this works or not. And you have the freedom to choose, and afterwards say, hey, this may not work, but maybe another faculty that can do the job. So that's yeah. So this is a kind of thing to consider. But it's not like when you identify somebody in your personal statement that you kind of stick with this person or these people. No, that will not be the case. Yeah. It is how whether this will work or whether this is working out well in a way.
That's what I said. The first 2 years, that mentor is really your advisor, and they're just helping you kind of progress through the common logistics of being a PhD student. It's a very general kind of experience. We all have to do this coursework. You all have, we've seen this over and over again. Everybody usually has the same concerns, stressors, et cetera. So we're really helping to coach you through that to make and then once you get to that phase of the dissertation proposal where you're really focusing on your passion project, your area of interest, that's when it becomes more fluid. And by that point, you've been at this institution for long enough to know really many of the options that are available to you.
Great, thank you so much.
I have 2 questions. The first question is, what are the support for, I would say, working families? Because I feel if me coming to school full-time, that is work in itself, but a different kind of work. Support for those with children. That's my first question. And the second one is any words of wisdom and advice for us students potentially coming into NYU for the first time in a PhD program?
Well, I can certainly take the question. Faith has a child, but Faith's child is an adult, so I'll take that because I have the lived experience of that, of having children during the PhD program, having children after the PhD program. I think, our philosophy in this program is really, truly evolving. We want people, we recognize, first of all, NYU in general and its commitment, particularly even post-pandemic, has really become even more solidified. There's a lot of resources for work-life balance, working families. I don't know if PhD students are eligible, but there's a Bright Horizons program for backup childcare that you're able to take advantage of. They have a child tax subsidy for employees. So there's all kinds of resources that have only grown even since my time. I will be fully honest with you, even when I was doing my PhD, the resources were scarce. We didn't have as many students because people were entering the program much later in their careers. That's changed. There has been a massive shift. And I talk to my PhD students now about their experiences, and they are so vastly positive and vastly different in so many ways in terms of the resources available. We understand we have students who, may get pregnant in, semester 1. That changes your trajectory. it doesn't end your trajectory. It means you have to take we encourage that, you know, you need to be driven, you need to be determined. Family things are going to happen. You need to find a rhythm. We encourage, in fact, my mentors have told me, you know, when you're a PhD student, you have to just treat it like a job. The same way that you work 40 hours a week on your job, like you have to carve out that time. The beauty is the flexibility in terms of the hours, but you will be expected to come to class, to be present in class. You will be working nights and weekends on your homework assignments and writing those papers. And that is not easy, but it's certainly doable. And I think the supports really are much more robust in the college and across the university than they ever have been. There's a recognition and a commitment to these families. And I can say that myself. When I have a problem, you know, I can honestly say to my mentors, this is just not happening this week. Because by the time a virus circulates through my house through 3 kids, like, and then I get it, it's like a good, you know, 2 weeks of lost work. So we're very sympathetic and understanding, and you need to make this part of your life, and it will be.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have a 7-year-old. My son is on a spectrum. So my way of being a consistent and a present parent is very important to me, as well as advancing my career as a registered nurse and a researcher. So that is very important to me, the balance.
Yes, and there's unfortunately nobody's, to my knowledge, Babe, nobody's discovered the science to mastering that work-life balance, but we are really trying hard. And I think, you know, we really believe that your family and your home life should come first, but it will take you some time to find that rhythm. And there's certainly a number of faculty who can support you as mentors, even in that work-life family state.
Right, and also it's individual based, right? It is a matter of how that what you think works for you. So that's your own kind of pace in a way to kind of make progress on that. So yeah, that is good. And also I would like to say that I know we're towards the end of this session. Oh, actually, so Joseph, you're going to talk a bit about the program. But overall, the last comment is that try to establish this kind of connection with your peers right from the beginning, because it will be extremely helpful and valuable. And kind of the friendship can be lifelong, and will be very beneficial for you all, because the peer support in a way.
You did have a question, Sasha, I know, about advice for a first-year PhD student, right? Was that your
Yes.
question? Yeah, I think the advice is number one, remember that treat this like a job. It is a job. It is not your life. That said, remember and keep in mind that you are getting the opportunity and being supported to study an area that you're extremely passionate and excited about. And that is a really wonderful, exciting privilege. And there are going to be a lot of ups and downs, but the importance of having good mentors, to tie it back to that, is to buffer you from any of the sort of interpersonal, political, any other kind of challenge that will get in the way of you doing a great job and successfully completing your program of research. There are all these people who are behind you, whose primary goal is to see you succeed, because we really think you can add something and make the world a better place. And that's really what we want to support you in doing.
Right, yeah, so the mentorship, good mentorship, and also that your peers, that peer support, is mentoring support, yes. So you will survive the program.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, I have a short presentation about the application process, but I don't want to interrupt. I love the flow of this conversation. So if anyone has any additional questions, please feel free. Okay, all right, so I'll go ahead and just give a brief presentation about our application process to the PhD program. So let me just share my screen. Okay, bear with me. Can everybody see my slides?
Yes.
Right. So once again, my name is Joseph. I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate Student Affairs and Admissions, and I'm just here to give a brief overview about the PhD application process. And as Professor Sadarangani mentioned, there are two pathways to the PhD program, the post BS to PhD option and the postmasters. We do require generally a 3.0 GPA and the ability to demonstrate professional performance or contribution in nursing as showcased in research efforts, publications, and other sorts of application requirements. So I just wanted to briefly go through the types of documents that you need to submit when you apply. We do ask for all of your transcripts from each post-secondary school that you've attended. Even if it's just one class at a community college, we ask that you submit that transcript to your online application, and we review applications with unofficial transcripts that you upload online. But if you're admitted and you choose to enroll, then we would need to see the official documents. So there's no rush to go out and get official transcripts right now. And you would need to submit an up-to-date resume or CV, and also a 2 to 3 page personal statement, really showcasing why the PhD program is important to you and why you'd be a good fit. And we look for at least 3 letters of recommendation, preferably written by recommenders who can comment on your research experience and your professional experience as a nurse, and anyone in an academic setting as well. And we ask if you have a RN or NP certificate that you submit that to us. And the following original documentation to demonstrate professional performance and your overall contributions to the nursing field, which is just a list of research or writing or publications, and you can choose no more than 2 papers that are most illustrative of your best work. You can submit papers from previous academic work if you're not published, or submit additional letters of recommendation. A list of professional organizations or student groups in which you are involved or have been involved, and a list of honors, professional societies, things like that. You can also email that to us once your application has been submitted. Now, just to give you a brief overview of the application process and timeline, the deadline to have all of the documents in is December 1st. Then the review period will happen in December and January. And the interview day, either virtual or in person, would happen in December, late December, early January. And we aim to have decisions out to applicants by early February. We do have a wait list. And if you're admitted and you choose to enroll, we ask you to submit your deposit in March. And I know a lot of potential applicants have questions about what they look for in strong applicants. And as these professors stated, we look for a clear match of research interest with the faculty expertise. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the strong correlation does need to be there. Previous research experience of any kind and publications. It's not necessary, but it's great to have. And what the committee really does look for is letters of recommendation that really attest to your potential as a researcher and your leadership potential. And one thing I like to say is that the PhD admissions committee really does practice holistic admissions. We understand that sometimes grades in a certain semester aren't that strong because something might have happened in your personal life, and that's okay. And it's okay if you're not a good test taker. We look for things in your application that really stand out, and we look at it in a holistic manner. And we know a lot of students have questions and worries about statistics, and we strongly do recommend that if you haven't taken a grad level statistic course, that you do. As Professor Sadarangani mentioned, there's a lot of support here at NYU Myers for students who take biostatistics at the School of Global Public Health, and there's a lot of support there. So that's nothing you have to worry about, but we do recommend that everyone take that course to have that entry-level knowledge. And also writing. I know a lot of PhD applicants who have been in the nursing field for a while have trouble with academic writing, and it's definitely something that you need to transition into. And transitioning from writing nursing notes to full sentences sometimes is a big transition. And for international students, we do look for a TOEFL or an IELTS score of more than 20 or 6.5 on the writing section, because it is writing intensive. Now, applicants do get waitlisted in our program. And what does that mean? So if you've been waitlisted, you're one of the top list of applicants who will receive offers. We're limited in how many initial offers we can give for our PhD program. So, and it's possible that other accepted applicants apply multiple places and may rescind their admissions offer, so other spots might open up. So most applicants receive an offer notification between February and March, and we keep you posted about where you are on the wait list, and you're more than welcome to reach out to us if you have other deadlines or offers, or you just want to know where you stand on the wait list, and we'll do our best to give you the most accurate picture possible. And just to plainly state, if you do really want to come to NYU, it could be worth waiting to hear from us. If you are considering other PhD programs, depending on their offer, it might be okay for you to stay on our wait list while still accepting other institutions' offers. Just to go over some frequently asked questions, just affording PhD in New York City. Most full-time students do work per diem, and we have connections to help you get jobs locally. And whether also the situation if you change your mind about your topic, and it does happen, as Professor Sadarangani and Professor Wu stated, that our faculty mentorship really does help in situations like these to help see you through and to navigate through that process. And another frequently asked question that we get is international students, can they work as a registered nurse while in the program? Unfortunately, due to student visa restrictions, the employment is limited to on-campus jobs, and there are many available for you. And another frequently asked question for international students is, how do they support themselves? There is on-campus employment, and a lot of them do return home in the summer to work as a nurse. And there are other grant funds which our scholarship officer can point you towards if you do enroll here at NYU. And can you apply for the same training grants as US students? Because most US funding sources require PhD students to have a green card, unfortunately, that wouldn't be possible. And what postdoctoral options are available for international students? We like to be very upfront. There are very few postdoctoral options available for international students in the US. Most students do need to find work as a faculty or research position or get a green card and then do the postdoc to have that option. So feel free to check out our website for more information about the program, or email me if you have any questions about the application process, or if anything is not clear, we're more than happy to speak with you and find out the information that you need. And I also encourage you to look at our most up-to-date profiles of our current PhD students and our past PhD students, just to give you more insight about who's been here at NYU. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question regarding, I'm not published. Is that congruent in regards to application that I?
That's fine. The committee will still consider your application, and we encourage you to submit some of your academic work and academic papers as soon as you submit your application, and it'll be added to your file, and that's what the committee would consider.
Yeah, Joseph, I just want to provide additional comments in terms of the eligibility criteria for international students to apply for NIH funding. That actually the more recent NIH has set up this called F99 K00 funding. It's all open to all international students. This is that one of my mentees actually got that funding from another university. You need to create a kind of mentoring kind of team working with a group of kind of faculties on that. But this is a really wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people to apply for that. Of course, it's highly competitive, but international students can apply for that funding. It's a kind of fund your pre-doc work as well as post-doc work. So once you get this, you're getting up to 6 years of funding that cover most of your percentage effort. And also for postdocs, many kind of NIH funded T-level postdoc opportunities so that the international students cannot apply, but many are still there in terms of, like, for example, like if I receive NIH funding, I have the funding to hire a postdoc. I am actually able to hire an international student. And so these kind of fundings is available that at many colleges, particularly kind of research intensive universities, because they have more funding, kind of research funding to hire postdoc. So yeah, just some kind of supplement information.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yes, please, Elena.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Joseph. a question about the application online. The
Mhm.
question about personal history, will your current employer support your tuition for this program? Yes or no? I just wanted to kind of get clarity on that question and what was trying to be ascertained.
Oh, they're just trying to find out if any of your previous employers would provide tuition assistance. I think that's a question that's usually asked for master's programs. And
Okay.
it's the same question that's there.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think I had the option to remove it and do a conditional logic to
Okay.
erase it for PhD students. It
Okay.
doesn't really apply.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Thank you, Professor Wu. Any other questions? No?
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It was a lovely discussion, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the application process. We're here to help. Thank you so much for your interest in NYU Myers.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good night,
Take care,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.